Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium. This is York's local sports show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTime PA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg. Game Day with GameTime PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Thanks for joining us as always. We're rocking and rolling here. Brandon stretching out his arm like he has a torn labrum.
You don't want to tear anything in here.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, things are good. We're rocking and rolling, entering it's the semifinals of the District 3 playoff bracket. We have PIAA sports action to talk about. Obviously, kind of winding down the winter sports season, winding down the fall sports season, getting into the winter sports season. We'll cover it.
Yeah, we'll cover a lot today. We're having some microphone issues with Teddy. His microphone just fell apart. We'll have plenty to talk about today. We have some playoff football action to talk about. I think the last of our non-football teams just wrapped up their season. So we're down to mostly just football here. 4 teams left in the York and Adams counties. 3 York-Adams League teams and then Northern York as well. We'll talk about that more in the next couple segments.
That was an all-time classic moment.
Are you back now, Teddy? Are we good?
That was an all-time classic moment for this program's history. The microphone completely fell apart on me. I was in full-fledged panic mode there for about 30 seconds. Thank you, Ray, for putting that back together, spur of the moment. And thank you, Brandon, for filling in a very funny moment right there. Where were we? You were saying...
I was saying that we have 4 football teams left. We have no non-football teams left, so we're really down to the nitty-gritty here in fall sports.
Well, we're looking at Northeastern football. We're looking at Biglerville football. We're looking at Northern York football. We are looking at York Catholic football.
That is right.
So those are the 4 that are remaining. Brandon alluded to it. Volleyball. A lot of our teams got unceremoniously dumped last weekend. Volleyball got dumped.
Yeah, I think DeLone got swept. Central got swept.
They all got swept.
Everyone got swept. Central had beaten Cumberland Valley a week before, and then they came out and got swept by Cumberland Valley this time.
Yeah, I thought that our volleyball teams would battle a little tougher in the quarters. No knock on them. Our volleyball programs had great years.
Yeah.
York Catholic had a great year. They won a District 3 title.
Yep.
DeLone's had a great year historically.
DeLone and Central both lost in the district title game, but they still get district silver medals.
And it's funny because I think even on a couple of weeks ago, I was like penciling in DeLone for the District 3 championship. Like, yo, pump your brakes on that, please. And sure enough, they didn't. But still, great years for those two. Central was awesome in YAIAA play. They obviously were the D1 champs. So no knock on our volleyball teams at all. It was a great. It's funny. Who would ever think it? It's like York Adams is becoming a volleyball community. Like none of the other sports. Soccer was respectable. I mean, Saskia had a very good.
Respectable. Between our girls and the boys volleyball, though, it just seems like a volleyball hotbed lately. And even when we went out I was covering games out somewhere else, out near Altoona, somewhere in probably the West Coast at that point. But,
right. Well, yeah, you were entering the Idaho border.
Yeah. But they were talking about, they're like, oh yeah, District 3, York Adams County. That's the good volleyball teams, right? Like, yeah, the volleyball state championships are there.
Yeah, okay. That's unfortunately not unfortunately, but that is what we're known for in this community. And I think part of the reason is, frankly, there's not a ton of success on the football field regionally.
Right.
And again, soccer, I thought our soccer programs had respectable years. Susky had a great run, but volleyball has clearly been the cream of the crop, and what you're successful in is what you're going to be recognizable for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and some great individual talent. We were shooting our all-star photo shoots yesterday with Chris Dunn, our photographer, shooting a couple DeLone girls, a couple Central girls on that team. There were a lot of it was very hard to choose a first team for volleyball because there was 12, 13 really solid players.
Right, because even teams like Redline had a great year.
Redline had a great year.
They just had a hard time underneath Central in that division.
Yeah.
Obviously some other programs rising. I think that it was deep, it was competitive across the board. So
Division 2, Susky and Suburban had a lot better years than some people thought they were going to have. Central, Redline, like you said, were there. Hanover really had a good moment where they finally beat Bermudian and kind of topped them in Division 3. So all around, pretty solid volleyball action.
Speaking of solid, we give out our game balls every single week. I know I have a couple up my sleeve from a football standpoint. I actually put down a couple because I figured we were probably going to overlap on one. Now, I'm going to sit here and assume you were going to give it to Anu Johnson.
Anu Johnson, yep.
Okay. So I was actually going to go Colton Sense route then.
He was my second name.
Yeah, Biglerville football, obviously. Both these guys are running backs. I'll let you were at the Northeastern game, so I'll let you do the honors on Johnson. But Sense had, Sense had a Herculean effort.
Mm-hmm.
30 carries, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. Biglerville beat Hanover 30-7. And really, obviously, it goes out. You see the final score, you hear the final score. It's a lopsided game. Huge win for Biglerville. Again, 30 carries, 230, 4 TDs for Sense. So, he was going. I just knew with Brandon on the show, I knew someone was going to take Sense, someone was going to take Johnson, so I take Sense.
And Sense accounted for every single point for Biglerville because he kicked the extra point. He scored all their touchdowns and kicked their extra point. So
that's amazing.
It was Colton Sense 30, Hanover 7 or 14 or whatever they had.
So what you're saying is, so he scored 4 TDs. 4 TDs and 4 extra points. Did he miss an extra point?
I think he missed one and kicked the field goal.
Like that's unreal. Yeah. We got to get that into like ESPN or something.
Yeah, he did. I don't know. Zach was there, so he could probably tell us better later on. But I'm pretty. I know Zach said he accounted for all 30 of the points. So there might have been a 2-pointer in there. There might have been
I said it was a Herculean effort. It really is a Herculean.
He did everything. And me and Zach were looking at his numbers because we're again going over all-star selections, possibilities, and we were looking at his numbers. He's only had 3 100-yard games, and 2 of them came against Hanover. Hanover just can't seem to figure him out.
He's been running. Yeah, it seemed like it's funny because I threw a photo of him in the paper yesterday. And, I think your capsule said he's been running really hard the last month of the season, but they played Hanover twice.
Yeah.
So those were huge games for Biglerville. And we'll get into this more, but I picked Hanover to win.
Yeah.
Certainly, I didn't think it was going to be a 30-7 Biglerville win. You want about having egg on your face. I had it on my face. Yeah, he was on a mission. They destroyed them both games.
I figured after they got destroyed by Sense the first game, they would do everything they could to stop him and make somebody else beat him. But then he came back out and did even better this time. I don't know what. Hanover's defense had a great year all around. I don't know what it was about Sense that they couldn't figure out because they slowed down. They played very well against guys like Kennard and they slowed down other offenses in the league, but for some reason they couldn't slow down.
Well, and again, it's that, but it's also their O-line. It's the ground game in its totality that really clearly had a monument. Right. When your back is going for 230, 4 TDs, of course the back's going to get...
I think he had 170 and 4 TDs. Johnson had 230.
My apologies. That might be the case, but in any event, when you're doing that, it goes up being said the guys up front are getting the job done. So, the Hanover defensive front specifically could not control the front for the offensive front of Hanover, and then you have Sense running like a man on a mission and then kicking field goals and kicking extra points. Well, the rest is history. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, he had a solid game, a big win for Biglerville. They get a district win. They didn't get one last year. They were an 8 seed. They lost last year. They get one this year. First one in a while, so now they go into the second round. We'll talk about that later. They get the top seed while missing in the district semifinals. So one more win, an upset win for Biglerville, and they're heading to Hershey Park next week.
And they've had a great year. They just had a great year. It doesn't matter really what happens. The YO missing game is going to be a tall order. I think we're aware of that. On the road, it doesn't matter. They've had a great season, and to beat Hanover twice the way they did too, with Hanover having a great year. Big ups to Biglerville.
And this is Biglerville's window. We'll talk about this more later, but their class that they've been hyping up since sophomore, junior now was the one that Ramos was kind of building with, and now they're all seniors. So this was kind of the year they were pointing at and say that's our year to do it. That's why all the expectations were high for Biglerville, and they come out and they get to the district semifinals at least, and now they're playing with house money. At this point, they're happy to be here. What else can we do?
I do have a box score. So Sense had a 1-yard touchdown run, kicked the extra point. Then he booted a 27-yard field goal. Then he had another 1-yard run, kicked the extra point. So that's Sense 17, Hanover nothing. Hanover then got on the board 17-7 at the half. Then Sense had a 14-yard run. He missed the extra point. 5-yard run. This is classic. 5-yard run, and then parentheses, botched snap. So he didn't miss the extra point. They botched the snap. So, yeah, Sense said that's unbelievable. That's a huge fantasy football day.
Huge fantasy football. He did everything for him.
He was like a 10th-round pick. Brandon, go ahead. Who'd you have?
I had Anu Johnson. I was at Northeastern. And Anu Johnson has been a solid running back all year, but he hasn't been great. And they've been kind of waiting for him to break out. Coach Kapinski talked about it afterward. Johnson's had that ability there all year. It's just, he's had maybe, a 100-yard game here, 90-yard game here, and they've kind of split time with him and Wack in the backfield.
Yeah. And Valenti can run the ball,
Valenti can run the ball. But this time, Anu Johnson, 16 carries, 230 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He, at one point, I think for most of the first 3 quarters, he kind of slowed down in the fourth, but through the first 3 quarters, he was averaging like 12 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. And they gave all credit to the offensive line immediately. The Northeastern offensive line just manhandled, mollywopped. I don't even know another word for it. Northern Lebanon could not even. was like 4 pancake blocks every play. Just run.
Just pancake.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, I could have ran for probably $150 in that offense.
It's not a cliche. It's a fact. That's where the game starts. I mean, if you look at the playoff games this weekend, Northeastern, for instance, hosting Susquehanna Township, are they going to control the offensive defensive fronts? Because if they do, probably going to win the game. Yeah. It's the way that goes. So go ahead. They played huge.
It was awesome. I mean, for him, it was his best game of the year. He saved it for the playoffs. He's only a junior, so he'll be back next year with a lot to prove. But 230 yards in a district playoff game in Northeastern's first ever home playoff game and their first ever district playoff win. It was a lot of firsts for those guys. And he came out fired up and ready to go, and they took control of that game very early on. I mean, it was almost a running clock by the end of it. The Susky boys soccer team, give them a game ball. State semifinals, that's huge for them. I think they made it further than the other team we had.
Piggybacking off of that, I wanted to give a shout out to Caleb Lippy. He scored the game-winning goal in the game you were at, and he played well in the semis game, too. He had an assist. We got a couple great photos of him. So
cool. And then the last one, Northern York, I think, after back-to-back 3-win seasons to come out and make the district's quarterfinals in AAA. Huge for Greg Bowman and the squad there.
And again, I mean, I know for a fact I took Suburban to win that game.
I did too. I thought Suburban's offense would solve Northern. But.
So, big ups to them, like you said. Real first-year coach, like you said, really great year for them. And again, they have a tough second-round matchup too. But to grab the first-round win was huge. I agree with you. That team definitely, and Jim Sipe does as well for being the beat writer of their program.
Yeah, Jim's up there all the time. They love Jim. But yeah, I think they're kind of like a Biglerville team. Like at this point, you've exceeded expectations. Now just go out there and have some fun playing the 1 seed and play loose and see if you can pull an upset.
No, I agree with you. And it seems like every time they were home this year, and again, at the end of the year, I think part of the reason a lot of us didn't pick them to win the game last weekend was because they kind of tailed off a bit, maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season. But it seemed like for the most part, every time they were home, they were winning games. They were a very good home team this year. On the road, they were a little bit of a different story, but on their home field,
they're really tough to beat at home.
Yeah, no question. So they had a great season. We also give our Athlete of the Week awards, and that should be pointed out as well. If I can find it, that would be really wonderful. But our Athlete of the Week awards went to, I believe Johnson won on the Football Athlete of the Week. I believe Lippy won from a boys' standpoint, and from a girls' standpoint, I'm going off the top of my head right now. I believe it was Ashley Stone, Susquehannock girls soccer player who really had a fantastic game in net. She held them in a quarterfinals defeat. They lost in the quarters, but I believe she had a 14-save effort. So a couple Susquehannock soccer players. Again, that's on our Varsity Beat blog. We have a new design to our GameTimePA.com website. I want to say a new website. That's not true. Same URL, same site as always, but we actually have a new design, a new homepage. But the Varsity Beat blog is still rocking and rolling. We're probably not going to have an AOW vote this weekend because simply a lot of our teams are eliminated. We have a couple left over, but we like to get at least 5 or 6 athletes a crack on the blog every week, and that's not really possible entering this weekend's slate of games. But in any event, in December, in January, when basketball's rocking and rolling, you can go to GameTimePA.com. You can vote for your top athlete of the week. You can vote for your favorite student athlete. You can vote for a relative. You can vote for whoever you think had the best week, which really was designed for. And every single week we will announce it on here who got the winner. So that's designed for fans to go on there and kind of start some friendly rivalries and get the ball rolling on that. We will go on our first commercial break. We are taking you up to 6 p.m. on our live stream, 8 p.m. on the radio dial. You're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
Dateline more football. Let's go to Minnesota. Headline, Teddy Bridgewater says Madden helps him learn Vikings playbook. What?
Good God!
You mean John Madden?
The Steve Zabin Show on Yahoo Sports Radio.
Or the video game Madden? Oh, the video game Madden.
There's the old ball coach. He has that list of plays. We're talking about how many plays he has in the list and what the list. He said, it's just an old list of ball plays.
Yeah, Bridgewater says he has imported the entire Vikings playbook into the video game Madden and will be using it to get, quote, virtual reps.
That sounds like an Onion story. It can't be real.
But maybe the game is that accurate.
The Steve Zabin Show.
Mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
This Sunday, an NFC West battle. The San Francisco 49ers travel up to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Blaine Gabbert will lead the Niners with the help of running back Carlos Hyde. The Hawks have their own talented back, and his name is Marshawn Lynch. The Niners lost the first one at home and are looking to return the favor. 49ers at the Seahawks, right here on Sports USA.
Your home for the NFL. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I'm Dover football coach Wayne Snellbaker. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
We're back. Game Day with GameTime PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg joined by Brandon Stoneberg. As always, it's a two-man show this week. Zach Miller was in Harrisburg at a little seminar. And we have Christian Arnold out at our high school sports, or I should say our GameTime PA All-Star photo shoots. Brandon's attended a couple of them. Christian's attended a couple of them. He's out there right now. Matt Alabone needs to make his debut on the program, if you will. Of course, we have John Buffone, who comes down occasionally from Lancaster, but he's not here this week. So it's Brandon and I flying solo for the next 2 hours.
I think we're holding it down pretty well, Teddy.
We always
worried
do.
about it.
We always do. Let's just recap. We're obviously going to kind of preview the 4 playoff football games here in segments 3 and 4, but we're in segment 2 right now. Let's do segment 2. Let's recap last weekend's high school football games. We had 2 teams win, Northeastern and Biglerville. Biglerville beat a fellow YAIAA football team, Hanover. All our other teams lost. But let's get to the good news first. Let's talk about the 2 victories. Let's talk Northeastern. Let's talk Biglerville victories. You were at the Northeastern game. You mentioned they really controlled the play up front. Johnson's numbers speak for itself. What else stood out to you?
It was just I thought that there would be some kind of jitters for Northeastern coming in, their first home district playoff game. First, they hadn't won a district playoff game before. I thought maybe a nervous squad. None at all. Like right from the start, they dominated from start to finish. I think it was 12-6 at one point. And then Northeastern railed off like 35 unanswered points. They didn't throw a pass until the end of the second quarter, and their first pass attempt, of course, was a touchdown from Valenti to Anke. It's just everything that could go.
I feel like Agnew has 10 receptions this year, and 8 of them have been touchdowns. That's the way it feels.
Yeah, I think we had the numbers. He had 19 catches for and 8 or 9 of them were touchdowns.
And I feel like maybe 8 or 9 of them, maybe 6 or 7 went for 50 yards.
Yeah, he was a beast this year. Valenti's favorite target, and they just from start to finish they just dominated. Anu Johnson would come in, run a 12-yard carry. WAC would come in, run 5 or 6 yards. Johnson 12-yard carry. They just moved it so fast up and down the field. Northern Lebanon had no answer for him. And Northern Lebanon kind of talked about their depth afterward. They thought that they didn't have enough guys to kind of match up with Northeastern. They're both AAA schools, so I don't really get the point there. Maybe Northern Lebanon's on the smaller end, but Northern Lebanon came in 8-2, and everyone said, "Well, they haven't lost in the field yet." Well, they hadn't beaten any decent teams all year either. It helped Northeastern to come in having played a bunch of Quad A schools, while Northern Lebanon
played up all year.
They played up all year. Northern Lebanon did the opposite. They played a Double A heavy schedule, so Northeastern came in with a little bit more experience, a little more confidence, and they got the job done. It was, from just like I said, it was from start to finish, and that place was fired up. The crowd was going crazy the whole game. It was electric atmosphere. Half hour before kickoff, the stadium was packed. You couldn't even get in, which is cool to see one of our teams, have something like that in the playoffs. So it was definitely really great. Valenti had an efficient game. Like we said, Johnson and WAC did their thing. Anke had 2 touchdown catches.
And hey, they're a good football team. They run the ball well, and you know what? Their defense should not be overlooked.
Their defense has been the top. I'm glad you mentioned that. They've been top in the league almost all season, week in and week out. And I had the stat. I think
they had a monumental game. I'm going to pull it up right now.
Yeah, I think they tackled Northern Lebanon in the backfield. It was like a 10 to 15 plays. Northern Lebanon had negative yards, which is a huge. Out of a game where you have 45 to 50 plays, 15 of them going backwards is not very productive.
No, I mean, I want to say I'm struggling to. Here we go. I mean, just off the top of my head, I want to say they had 5 sacks.
Yeah, it was 5 sacks. I think 2 forced turnovers, and then a certain amount of plays forced for negative yards. I can't remember that one, but defense was everywhere. The offense did their thing. Overall, it's probably the best complete game Northeastern's played all season, and they did it in the perfect time.
Well, again, you control the line of scrimmages. When you run the ball 35 times for 356 yards, so they ran it 34 times for 356. Northern Lebanon ran it 34 for 95.
Yeah.
When you get 5 sacks, when you're recording tackles for losses left and right, I mean, Northern Lebanon was outmatched in that game. And again, we'll preview the Northeastern game against Susquehanna Township, which is coming up Friday at 7 p.m. for the District 3 Class 3A quarters. But the point is this: Northeastern is not a bad football team, and that's what people need to recognize. York Adams might be down. Mm-hmm. Northeastern's not a bad team.
No, they were fired up because there was some media out toward Lancaster, Lebanon or something that did a show and said that they were garbage and that the York Adams was garbage, and they tagged the kids in the tweet afterward, which was kind of disrespectful.
Yeah, that's a little over the top.
Like, I don't know what, I wasn't, I don't have.
I'm not going to sit here and start critiquing what other people are doing, and that's fine. And the reality is, again, you want respect, you got to earn it. My point is, Northeastern's not a bad football team.
No, they're not a bad football team at all. And for someone to call them garbage like that, I thought was very disrespectful. But they used that all week. I talked to the coaches afterward. They said we're glad they put us in that position because that was bulletin board material all week long. And like I said, they came out fired up.
I think
11 tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean that's highly impressive. I think that they run the rock and again they play grade D, and I even look at their season. Now I believe that was the football game, and Dallastown had to make the late fourth quarter comeback on them. They really should have been Dallastown that football game.
Yeah, a lot of people thought they should have been Dallastown. They thought maybe the referees didn't really help in the fourth quarter. There was some controversy, I guess. I wasn't there for that one, and then so that was one of their losses. And then the other loss, they didn't have their starting quarterback Valenti. He was out against Southwestern.
He had a concussion issue, I believe.
Yeah, so those were the 2 losses. The other one, a sophomore, I forgot to mention, Fred Malba. He might be one of our all-star picks. Heck of a year of defense. I think he had 4 picks, 4 sacks, 45 tackles, something like that. Like all around great defensive back. Like
DB.
Safety, nickelback. And then on offense, he came out and had a 60-yard touchdown run. He had 1 carry for 60 yards late in the game. But he's a talented kid for them.
Yeah, no, he's a solid player, and again, they come at you with a lot of runners, and they're just a sound football team. And I like them. Again, we're going to preview the football game, but I like their position going into the Susquehanna Township game. I think they're being a little overlooked, and I think it's a mistake to overlook them. Obviously, if you're the opposition, but even if you're a fan and follower of local and regional football, do not overlook Northeastern. This is not your run-of-the-mill YAIA football team. This is a good football team.
It's a very good football team. Last thing about that game, Isaac Wangard had a huge year for Northern Lebanon. He was their key playmaker. He punts, he returns punts, he plays safety, he plays quarterback, he runs the ball. He does a little bit of everything. They held him to 36 yards on 20 carries, and they held him to 74 yards and an interception on 11 passes.
Yeah, I mean they were swarming.
They swarmed him.
Biglerville 30, Hanover 7. I'll be the first one to say I took Hanover on their home field. I was wrong. Biglerville did exactly what I didn't think they would do. They steamrolled them for a second time this year. Big ups to Biglerville. Hanover had a great year, 8-2. Well, they had 2 losses. They finished the regular season 9-1. So obviously they finished the season in its entirety with a 9-2 mark. But I got to give Biglerville the nod. I did not think they could beat Hanover twice. And I thought that in the second meeting, Hanover would find a way to persevere. But, hey, Biglerville proved that they are the premier team in YAIA Division III this year. Make no mistake about it. You can't argue that fact anymore.
No, they were the premier team, and I didn't think they could win in Hanover. Like, I thought, okay, they snuck by Hanover in Biglerville. I didn't think they...
Second meeting away from home, yeah.
I thought that was for sure a Hanover win. But the biggest thing that impressed me, I was looking at the game afterward, was Biglerville held Kyle Kraut, who was second in the league in passing, to 9 of 27 for 108 yards and 2 interceptions. Like, that was Kraut's worst game of the year, or his 2 worst games this season actually came against Biglerville. So their pass defense really shut them down.
They had the formula. He didn't play well against them, and you mentioned Sense's season numbers against them.
And the other thing was that Biglerville only threw for 15 yards. You put up 30 points by only throwing for 15 yards.
Amazing.
59 carries for 306. Sense had 171. Showers had 59. Cooper had 46. Weaver had 25. Just an overall solid performance.
Frankly, I think that's another reason I picked Hanover. I saw the senior quarterback crowd. I said, hey, look, I mean, is this really going to happen 2 straight? It did. I mean, it most certainly did. Yeah. So Biglerville moves on. They are going to face Wyomissing on the road Saturday at 1 p.m. So you basically have Northeastern going to be at home 7 p.m. on Friday against Susquehanna Township. That is Class 3A District 3 semifinals. Biglerville on the road Saturday at Wyomissing Saturday 1 p.m. Let's run through the other games. Central Dauphin 42, Central Dauphin East 42, Dallastown 21. We're going to start right then and there. Cade Gold did not play. He was hurt. I knew if Gold didn't play, I don't want to say I didn't think they were going to win because I wasn't so bold to say that last week before the game, but I knew it was going to be very hard to climb that hill if he didn't play. He did not. Offensively, I'm not going to sit here and say that they played poorly, but I knew they were going to have some major issues without their heart and soul in the football field.
Yeah, and CD East played a ridiculously hard schedule, and they lost some of those, and they were lower seed, but that was a really bad draw for Dallastown. They were at home, but they had CD East coming in. Like you said, Michael Sparks had to step in and play only his second career start. And his 2 starts went against Redline and CD East. You almost feel bad for the kid, but
in his credit, he didn't play a poor game.
I mean, they put up 21 points, which is more than what I thought. They got shut out by Redline the week before with Sparks at quarterback. The thing I was kind of surprised about is how many points CD East put up. Like Dallastown's defense didn't.
I agree.
Dallastown's defense, I don't think they gave up like 120 points all year. They gave up 42 in this game, so you can't blame that on a goal injury. That defense just got rocked.
I agree with you 100%, Brandon. You cannot. They ran the ball well too. Jake Jansen had. He played receiver this year. He was at running. They had a weird year in the backfield, but he had a 16 carries, 81 yards, couple touchdowns, and they didn't have an issue moving the ball. And I want to say they were within 10 points at halftime. I want to say at one point the game was 7-7, may have been 24-14 at the half. So they weren't, like you said, CD East just didn't have any issue getting in the end zone.
No, they didn't. And Jansen, Dallastown didn't really have a premier running back all year, so Jansen was just their best player. Just to plug him in a punt returner, plug him in a kick returner, plug him in a running back. Just give him the ball and see what happens. So I thought that game was going to be more of a 21-3 CD East, but 42-21. Still they went 9-1 in the regular season. With Gold, maybe it's a different year. Nothing to hang your heads about. Solid year for Dallastown. And we thought, like I said before, that it might be a little bit of a slower year because they lost Player of the Year Addison Quinones from last season.
I think it's pretty safe to say after some of the losses they had last year that Dallastown was a little overlooked going into the year. I think the general consensus probably was that D1 was wide open. Mm-hmm. And schools like Southwestern or maybe Northeastern could make a jump, but Dallastown was right there. They had a great year, 9-1, like you said. They were 9-0 before the Gold injury, lost to Redline the last week of the regular season, then fell hard in the first round of the playoffs. But they had a very good year. Kevin Myers got them boys going every single week. Northern York 30, York Suburban 16. Again, a little bit of a surprise internally. Suburban was a hot team. Want to say they started the year 0-2. Then they won 8 straight football games. They went on the road and they fell. They kind of had a rude awakening, I guess you could say, on the road.
Yeah, they played a tough Northern York defense. They hadn't played a defense that strong in a while. They came out they were down 16-9 at halftime. They scored, made it 16-16 heading into the fourth quarter. But then the fourth quarter, Bobby Shelley and Joey Rosano scored for Northern. They were tied heading into the fourth. They held Northern to 81 passing yards. But the run defense for Suburban struggled. They gave up 277 rushing yards, only ran for 91 themselves, which was an issue all year.
It really was.
But they threw for 267. The weird stat was both teams totaled 358 yards, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
Both teams had 2 turnovers, so it was, stat-wise, it's about as even as it gets.
It's actually an even football game when you get right down to it. One team ran the ball well, the other didn't. I will say this. I was glad to see, at least from a senior standpoint, Merkel and Mailman both went out well. Mailman, I want to say, had 12 grabs, way over 100 yards. Yeah. Merkel had a strong game.
Merkel went 20 for 27 for 267. Mailman 12 catches for 164. And this is a team kind of like Biglerville, where this is the class that they've been hyping up for years. And they were struggled as sophomores, as juniors they went 5-5, and then this year they went 8-2. And this was kind of their window because, next year they lose Mailman, they lose Merkel, they lose Henderson, they lose all these guys.
They had to hit.
They had to hit this year. So it was kind of sad because you wanted to pull for Northern because they've had a rough couple of years. You wanted to pull for this class at Suburban. So it was kind of sad to see that's how it ended. But
it was sad to see a matchup first round.
Yeah. I wish they could have both somehow won. But they had Dustin Knoll, was another talented kid. Teague Hoffman at linebacker had 129 tackles for them this year. He's only a junior. He'll be back. He'll probably be their best player coming back. Solid running back as well.
Manheim Central 51, Spring Grove 3. Don't think there's really any need to get involved in the X's and O's there. Hempfield 23, Southwestern 21. This was an interesting game. Southwestern rallied. They made it close. Late interception salted the game away. But Southwestern, I saw that game on paper. They obviously had a I don't want to say a bad final week, because I want to give Spring Grove credit for pulling off the win in the regular season finale, but certainly not the way. Southwestern didn't go out on a high note to end the regular season, but they went out on the road and they battled tough. They had a good year.
Yeah, they were down 17-7 and came back and made this a game in the fourth quarter. And coming into the fourth quarter, they were down 10 points. Tyler Fulmore scored early in the fourth quarter. Then Guyman hit Jeff Green late in the game with 2:40 to cut the lead to 2, and then a late interception by Guyman eventually did them in. But again, another team that had high expectations. They had a couple injuries that hurt them early in the year, so it'd been kind of cool to see what happens if Hartlaub and Harbison stay healthy for them out of the backfield. But Guyman had a great year. Staub had a great year, like we were expecting. The defense played better than a lot of people thought.
Make no mistake, if they had a healthy backfield, they also would have been a better team. Those were huge losses for that team. Those guys were difference makers. They really didn't play. Hartlaub missed the entire year.
Hartlaub, yep. He played, I think, 1 or 2 quarters, and that was it for him.
That was it. So those were 2 huge losses. But they did battle tough on the road at Hempfield in the first week of the District 3 playoffs. Final game we want to get to, Cumberland Valley 48, Redland 21. You knew this was going to be a difficult draw. Nobody messes with Cumberland Valley, especially at Cumberland Valley. They are a formidable foe year in and year out. You knew Redland was going to have a very difficult, or Red Lion, I apologize. You knew Red Lion was going to have a difficult time on the road in that game. They didn't get strong play offensively. Dalton Grove, who had a very gritty, tough year at quarterback, had a couple turnovers. Don't want to single him out by any stretch. You knew it was going to be a very, very difficult game, and it certainly proved to be.
Yeah, and Colin Snyder was there. I think he said that Cumberland Valley was up 27-0, and Red Lion had only ran like 7 or 8 plays at that point. Right out of the gate, just dominated. A 58-yard run, 11-yard run, 33-yard interception.
Always tough. My God.
They ran for 415 yards. They only threw for 4 yards. They ran for 415. So just a great game for Cumberland Valley. And Red Lion, I know Jesse Shea afterward talked about how they didn't have enough balance. They're a team that needs the running game to kind of open things up for them passing. They can't rely on one or the other. They threw 3 interceptions. The running game didn't ever get going. Alex Keogh, who's one of our best running backs all year, had 58 yards. Guerrero had a 36. They couldn't get it.
I mean, Coach A, we need balance. Like we just need production somewhere.
Yeah. They needed something, and to be in a hole 27-0 right off the bat on the road against Cumberland Valley, that.
I'll even say Redland. Or I keep saying Red Line. I apologize. Red Line, in my opinion, had a good year. They had the tragedy early in the year. Dalton missed a couple games early, mid part of the season. They got the win against their rival. Just a very tough first round draw. I mean, when I saw that draw, I was just like, good Lord. I mean,
it was tough, like we said last week, for all of our teams. To get Hempfield, Cumberland Valley, Manheim Central, CD East. I mean, these are just rough. I mean, these are powerhouses every year, and we just happen to, our team just happen to kind of walk into those matchups. And the same thing with this week. I mean, 2 of our teams play Wild Mission and McDevitt. I mean, what do you Susquehanna Township even? Like, these are just rough draws.
They are. But we'll see how it goes down. Again, Northeastern Susquehanna Township is going to be an interesting one. We are going to talk about that right after the commercial break. You're listening to Game Day with GameTime PA.
The action heats up in the quarterfinals of the District 3 AAA playoffs on the high school football game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Ruman. Join me Friday as the Northeastern Bobcats defense, yielding just 200 yards and 12 points a game, faces the Susquehanna Township Indians, led by quarterback Ben Moser's nearly 2,700 yards and 33 touchdowns passing. Township puts up an eye-popping 40 points a game. Northeastern and Susquehanna Township, Friday at 6:30 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY, and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
Welcome to WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight, brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine, the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of the York Revolution.
The Hanover Nighthawks are in a rebuilding stage. They need to replace 9 seniors they lost to graduation last year. We talked to head coach Nathan Myers about the prior season for the Nighthawks and what this new season could entail for Hanover.
We had a very good season, went undefeated in league play. Had 9 seniors though, and those 9 seniors have left us and have moved on. So obviously one of our strengths last year was the play of our inside players, Dylan Krieger and Jacob Rhodes, but they're no longer with us, so that's a big hole for us to replace.
The Nighthawks football program also had to find a way to replace Dylan Krieger, who is a star wide receiver for them. The Nighthawks went on a tremendous regular season run this year, ending the regular season of a 9-1 record. Coach Nathan Myers hopes to have similar success, but knows it won't be easy.
We truly hope so. I think one of the benefits the football team has had is a large number of senior players, sort of similar to us last season, which is very helpful. For us this year, we're going to have to rely on our experienced guard play until we get everyone else sort of caught up with varsity experience.
Coach Myers named 2 guards in particular who he expects to have a big impact for the Nighthawks this year.
We have Kyle Kraut, quarterback on the football team. He'll be returning to us as a 4-year starter on the basketball team. Obviously, he has the most varsity experience currently in our program, so we're going to have to rely heavily on him. And also Will McQueen is a senior point guard, and he'll be a second-year starter for us.
Catch a preview every day as we break down the teams and players of the 2015-2016 York Adams League on WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight, brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine. And make sure to check out every team preview on WOYK1350.com. Have you been injured? At WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, no appointment is needed. Learn more at wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics.
Hi, I'm York Suburban football coach Andy Laux. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
50 WOYK, we are back. We are talking high school football District 3 playoffs. We are starting out by talking northeastern Susquehanna Township, and it's interesting. I think at first glance, or superficially, or regionally, or whatever you want to call it, I think the general consensus is that Susquehanna Township will come down here and they will roll pretty handily. Then I look at our GameTimePA.com weekly gridiron picks. 6 people selecting: myself, sports editor Liz Jones, Hanover staff reporter Zach Miller, our correspondent Tom Sixius, fellow assistant sports editor Jessica Sprankle, and of course our staff reporter Brandon Stoneberg. And I see everyone goes with Northeastern with the exception of Sixius, who went with Susquehanna Township. So I don't know if that's hometown treatment. I don't know if that is us thinking we know something other people don't, or maybe a combination of the two.
I think it's a combination of the two. Now, for the Northeastern fans who got upset with the media not picking them last week, look at that one because we all jumped on board.
Well, let's be honest. Brandon took them in large degree because he didn't need a 24-ounce soda dumped on his head when he's at the game on Friday.
When I come to Northeastern. But they were tweeting asking if I'm coming out, so I'm excited to get there. It's going to be a great crowd. Susquehanna Township has perennially a strong team out of Harrisburg. They play very well. And I think some people are just assuming that is what we're going to get. Oh, we're going to get that great Susquehanna Township team is going to come down. They have like a reputation of like a Cumberland Valley type team, even though this year, I mean, they finished as a 7th seed. They kind of had a confusing year though. They started off 1-3, and they lost some tough teams. They lost to like CD East, Lower Dauphin, who are really solid teams. And then they beat Bishop McDevitt, which no other team in the league, no other team in the district has done that. McDevitt has barely lost a game in the last 5 years. Susquehanna Township pulls that off, and then they finish on a big winning streak. The key here though is Susquehanna Township can throw the ball. They almost threw for 3,000 yards this year as a team. Ben Moser, great prospect, 2,600 passing yards, 32 passing touchdowns. I mean, that would have blown away everyone in our league. Northeastern's been the top defense in our league though, so can a York Adams top defense stack up against a Mid-Penn top offense? I guess we'll find out. We threw Downstown to CDs last week and it didn't work out for us. So can Northeastern do a little bit better? I think they're better than people are giving them credit for, especially after last week. They sold me even more last week, just because that defensive front. with Shamari Young, with Gary Gobernick, with Fernando Flores. Their front seven is just
that's going to be key.
Solid. And they got Fred Mulba, the sophomore safety or defensive back. So, I mean, the defense is going to have their hands full, but if they can keep Susquehanna Township's offense off the field, keep them off the field, run the ball with Anu Johnson, run the ball with WOYK, and be efficient like Valenti was last week. I think he only went 3 for 5, but that's all he needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, control the line of scrimmages, block on the offensive side of the ball, control time of possession, get 4 or 5 yards of crack, keep them off the field. And when your defense is on the field, get after the quarterback, make some noise, keep them out of rhythm, get them off his spot. Again, it's going to be a tall order because Susquehanna Township, they're going to have athletes. I mean, they're going to be a good team. But Northeastern's a 2 seed for a reason. I really believe that. And they're a good football team. They have a good offense. They have a good defense. They're not a one-dimensional team. Yeah. And that's important. I think they can beat you or beat the opposition in a number of different ways. And it's going to be interesting to see, just to see how this one unfolds. I really believe that. I still think, despite them being a 2 and Susquehanna Township being a 7, again, I think superficially people would say, well, Northeastern, just from a historical standpoint, they're the underdog. But, again, I think if you look at the seeding and you actually really look at how these two teams are, I think Northeastern has a very good chance in this football game.
I think they do. I think this is people are saying, oh, yeah, okay, great job, York Adams. This is your best team, but this is where it ends because now we're going to throw a decent mid-pen team at you. I think they're better. I think Susquehanna Township's a really, really good team. I'm not taking credit away from them. I can see them beating Northeastern and walking away and saying, yeah, you're right, they were a better team. But I don't sleep on the Bobcats. I think that defense is stronger than people think, and they're going to be fired up. And I mean, they're playing with. They've already exceeded expectations, so they're kind of playing with that proverbial house money as well.
Northeastern finished here, or they didn't finish here. They're still going on. They currently have a 9-2 record on the season. Losses to Dallastown and Southwestern. They went 5-2 in YAIAA play. They are fresh off a 48-12 victory over Northern Lebanon, and they are ready to rock and roll. As for Susquehanna Township, they had an 8-3 season, 5-1 the Mid-Penn Keystone. Brandon mentioned they really came out at the end of the year. They have a high-octane offense. They really enjoy throwing the ball around the yard, particularly when they're doing it at a high level. Should be a great game. 7 p.m. kickoff at Northeastern High School. You can get live updates throughout on our Twitter handle at GameTimePA _SC. Of course, Brandon will be there, B_Stoneberg on Twitter. It should be a good one. Again, 7 p.m. Friday night, District 3 Class 3A semifinals contest between Northeastern and Susquehanna Township at Northeastern High School. Should be a good one.
Last one for that one real quick is also should be noted Susquehanna Township is coming off a 42-3 win over the 10-seed Conrad Weiser, which is and it's 7-10 seed match up to win 42-3 is pretty impressive. I mean, they've won 7 games in a row, and they can throw the ball. It's going to be a tall task for Northeastern.
That's a little bit of a concern. They're clearly peaking at the right time, at least for them. It's not the right time for Northeastern. Yeah. But Northeastern's going. It goes out being said they're going to need another substantial effort from their ground attack in this one, and they're going to have to control the line.
They're going to have to control line of scrimmage. They're going to have to keep Susquehanna Township's offense off the field. I think that's if they can run the ball consistently, I think they have a better chance in this one.
Oh, no question about that. They've been running it all year, and they've been playing D all year.
That's true.
So they're going to have to do it again. Biglerville at Wyomissing. We've been talking about the season Biglerville's been having. I don't want to say they've been a Cinderella story because I think Brandon and Zach both said coming into the year they were going to be a good team, but that certainly proved out to be the case. They beat rival Hanover twice to end once to end the regular season at Biglerville, but then the big statement 30-7 victory to open the playoffs last week. Now they go to a Wyomissing team that sports an 11-0 record, a 6-0 mark in Burke Section 2. Bottom line is this is a good Wyomissing football team. You also get them on their home field. This could be an adventure.
This could be an adventure, and this is where a lot of people are saying, all right, but great run, Biglerville, but now this is it because you're playing at.
Well, this is a scary game.
You're playing at Wyomissing, who has dominated district play, has dominated everyone, especially on their field. I mean, they don't give up points. Some of their scores this year were just ridiculous: 35-0, 42-0, 64-14, 35-0, 35-7, 42-6. They just dominate everyone, especially at home. The closest anyone came was Berks Catholic, came within 6 of them, but everything else has been a huge blowout for those guys. The Spartans, this is the other thing. This is a terrible matchup for Biglerville, and this is why. Biglerville has played really, really, really well against teams who are pass happy. When they played Hanover, they held Kyle Kraut, one of the best passing offenses, in check twice. They played some other, some other big passing teams. They played well. When they played a running team, a run-heavy team, Wyoming, all they do is run. They're going to throw the ball 3 times and run 40 times. When they played Bermudian Springs, who runs the ball, Bermudian gave them trouble. Waynesboro beat them. York Catholic beat them. Those run teams have beat them consistently.
Grind it out, line it up, get the O-line moving in the right direction. Good old, you know why? If you're 11-0, 6-0, you know you got some linemen up there. Wyoming is going to be running the rock.
Wyoming is going to be running the rock. I can see this one being, a sad ending for Bigelow. I can see 20, 30-point loss here. They just, they got to stack the box and try and slow down Wyoming's run attack because that's what Wyoming does. That's their bread and butter. They're going to run the ball at you 40 times in a row and see if you can stop them.
It'll be interesting. I'm just reading your capsules here. What is Sense going to do? Colton Sense, again, the big 30 carry, well over 150 yards, 4 TDs last week against Biglerville, also kicking balls through the uprights left and right as the kicker. If Wyoming is going to run the ball like that, can Biglerville fight fire with fire? I just think it's a two-way street, right? I mean, when we talked about with Northeastern, we can sit here and talk all day about how you have to stop the other team, but, a lot of times your offense can be your best defense, and you got to keep your defense on the sideline. You have to control the line of scrimmage as well on the offensive side of the ball, win that time possession battle, and show them that we can run the football a little bit too. They've been doing that with Sense over the last month of the season, but I'll also be interested typically. If you're a good running football team, that means you also know how to stop the run, too. One would hope. So it'll be interesting to see if Biglerville can kind of control the ball a little bit in this one, too. And
a 1 o'clock start, Saturday afternoon start, a little different for these guys. Instead of a Friday night, they'll be during the day at Wyoming, probably a big crowd at Wyoming. And Wyoming has made it a habit of knocking out York Adams teams because it always seems to be they've beaten Bermudian in the district playoffs 3 or 4 times in the past decade. They've squared off here. They get another, matchup with the York Adams team. I don't know, it's always seems to be Wyoming and Berks Catholic in AA, and they're the 1-2 seed, and they look dominant again. So I'm saying Wyoming and Berks Catholic beating Hershey Park next week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too big of a stretch. But we'll see how it goes down. Biglerville again, they've had a great year. Now they have to take the show to the road, and they have to get the ball rolling in the District 3 Class 2A semifinals. We have a couple more games coming up. We have Northern York at Bishop McDevitt. We have York Catholic at Steel High. Both of those are tomorrow at 7 p.m. We are going to touch on those when we return for segment 4 of the first hour of Game Day with GameTime PA.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Football Student Athlete of the Week is Anu Johnson from Northeastern. The Bobcat was a key contributor to his team on Friday with 16 carries, 230 yards, and 2 touchdowns in Northeastern's 48-12 District 3 win over Northern Lebanon. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Ashley Stone from Susquehanna Soccer. The goalkeeper did all she could to help keep the Warriors in contention during Saturday's penalty kick loss to Mercyhurst Prep. She had 14 saves, with the game ending in a scoreless tie after regulation and the double overtime periods. And this week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Caleb Lippy from Susquehanna Soccer. Lippy kicked home the game-winning goal on Saturday off a free kick with 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining as the Warriors beat South Fayette 1-0.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit ShipleyEnergy.com.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Do it for me. Do it for America.
Rich Eisen.
Looks like Mark Sanchez, this is his team now. And he dropped a 50-yard dime on Jeremy Macklin in his first pass attempt. And Jason Peters says he didn't know it was Sanchez back there. He didn't know that Foles went out. He turns around to celebrate with his quarterback and give him an attaboy. And it's Sanchez.
The Rich Eisen Show.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, this is John Shapansky, head coach of Northeastern Bobcats. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We're back, folks. Game Day with GameTime PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg joined by Brandon Stoneberg. You know, your classic 1-2 punch here. We're going to keep talking District 3.
We've been compared to Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah, no, I think there's some validity to that.
Michael and Scotty?
Yeah, Drexler Porter, Drexler Kersey. I don't know. I'm just throwing guys out there now. Curry Thompson. That might be a bit of a stretch. Watching Steph Curry play, I just want, he's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. One of the best in the game. One of the best of our generation easily already.
He's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Nash called him one of the best guards in history already. That's a pretty big compliment.
I mean, Kevin Garnett compared to what Jordan's doing. We'll talk about this later in the show when we're really desperate for content. Let's talk District 3 football. Let's get back at it. We have Northern York visiting Bishop McDevitt, and during the commercial break, you mentioned Bishop McDevitt's strong history in football, and I don't think that history is going to be rewritten this weekend.
No, Bishop McDevitt's won 5 straight district championships and just a dominating run in AA. They came down from AAA, or they went from Quad A to AAA, and have just dominated since they've been there. They're 10-1. Their only loss came Susquehanna Township, which we mentioned earlier. They're coming off a dominating win. Or actually, they only beat Milton Hershey 20-0, which kind of turned some heads in the first round. That was a 1-16 matchup, and Milton Hershey didn't have their best player, so people were expecting that to be like an 80-0 type game. It was 6-0 late in the game, and McDevitt kind of strolled through with 20-0. Maybe they were sleeping through that one. This time they're hosting Northern York again. They've seen cross division mid-pen, but they've seen a little bit of Northern York. Those Polar Bears. I lost my train of thought.
You're right, Brandon.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought there. But anyway, so the Polar Bears, what we're trying to tell them is play loose. You're coming off back-to-back 3-win seasons. No one expects you to be this far. No one's expecting you to beat Bishop McDevitt. So go out there. You have no pressure on you. McDevitt has the pressure because if they get upset after winning 5 straight district titles to an 8 seed, that's a big loss for them. So, I mean, you got nothing to lose. Go out there, fire it up early on. Try and make a play or two early on, stay in the game, hang around, and see what happens late. Bishop McDevitt, you got caught kind of sleeping on Milton Hershey. Don't get caught sleeping on Northern York. You can't just stroll through like you have for years. Maybe, this is a little tougher field. Northern's played well against some really top mid-pen teams, too. I mean, they have a strong history this year of playing well with the big schools. So, I'm still going Bishop McDevitt. I don't think that this is the upset in the making. I think McDevitt kind of rolls through this one.
Northern York enters with an 8-3 overall record. They were 5-1 in the Mid-Penn Colonial. McDevitt was 10-1 overall, 5-1 in the Mid-Penn Keystone. Brandon mentioned their history, 5-time defending district champions, which is a staggering statistic. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of I refrain from calling us experts, but no one on the GameTime PA panel picked Northern to go on the road and swing the upset. Again, Northern played... They were, and you can say this for just about every football team, but they just, on their home field, they were extraordinarily tough. Now they go into hostile territory. I'd love to see them give them a ball game. We'll see how it goes down, but on paper at least, they are severe underdogs.
Yeah, big-time underdogs. Like you said, they play well at home. They're only lost at home coming to East Pennsboro late in the year, and East Pennsboro's having a fantastic season. They did lose to Lower Dolphin, East Pennsboro back-to-back late in the year. They have some wins, quality wins over Greencastle Antrim, over Big Spring, over Waynesboro. Beating Susky ended up turning into a pretty solid win. And then beating York Suburban last week. So, I mean, they have some quality wins on the resume. They play some big schools. I don't think they're going to be scared of Bishop McDevitt or anything like that. But, I mean, McDevitt's won 5 straight district titles. Your reputation kind of speaks for itself. I think they get through this one and move on. If they get through this one and move on, they'll get either Solenko or Lampeter Strasburg next week, and then Northeastern, Susky Township, Manheim Central, East Pennsboro, all on the other side of that bracket, all really, really solid teams as well. Manheim Central at one point was the Bishop McDevitt. They won like 13 out of 14 straight district titles at one point, but now McDevitt's won 5 in a row, trying to make it 6.
York Catholic is the final of our 4 regional teams playing in the District 3 playoffs this weekend. We have York Catholic visiting Steel High, and I guess superficially, again, I looked at the game and I said York Catholic, this is going to be a tall order for them. I feel like they've had a good team this season and one that's improved throughout the year and a lot of young talent. And Steel High is obviously a quality program. I know I took Steel High in this one, but you actually went the other way. You took York Catholic on the road.
I went the other way. I'm not sold on Steel High. I don't think they've had. I mean, they started off really bad. They didn't beat anyone on early on. They got spanked by a bunch of teams. I mean, right off the bat, well, they lost to McDevitt and Berks Catholic, which any team would. They lost to Milton Hershey, who was a 16 seed. They lost to Palmyra, lost to Camp Hill. I mean, these were all pretty solid teams, but they lost all of them. Lately, they beat West Perry, Trinity, Middletown, Boiling Springs, so they're kind of hot right now. They've won 4 in a row. But I think you can say the same thing on the other side. York Catholic's pretty hot right now as well. I mean, they start off, 0-3? Yeah, they start off 1-4, and they won 4 out of their last 5, with their only loss being that fluky Bermudian Springs game. But they put up 56 last week. They put up 59 the week before that. I think their offense is just clicking right now. Kennard's just taking it to a whole other level lately. And I think Kennard, I think Yokemik, I think that line, I think they give them a game. I think this is an underrated York Catholic team.
I like a lot what we've seen out of this team, as the year has progressed, and I think that they are going to be in for big things entering next season. They have Kennard is really a great player, and he's been sensational the second half of the year. He was kind of banged up early in the season.
I mean, he was our league's leading rusher, and he missed a game. He missed a game and a half, and he still led the league in rushing.
He had a 5-touchdown game, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a junior. Yokemik's a junior, so they're going to be solid again next year. But, I mean, their losses, the last 2 losses were by 7 points to Hanover, at Hanover, and 3 points at Burm. I mean, they've played pretty well, so.
Their quarterback's gotten better, too. You mentioned Yokemik. He's definitely come on. I know the beginning of the year was a little bumpy. They had some really big shoes to fill. Kennard's older brother, Hakeem, was a great quarterback for them, and they had a great linebacker as well last year, really good player. I believe he played both ways, obviously. So they had some big shoes to fill from production and a leadership standpoint. It took them a little while to find their sea legs this year, but certainly once they entered YAIA play, things really turned around for them. They had a very tough early season schedule. And then, I think the playing field leveled out a bit, and they were able to get some confidence, and they started winning some football games. And even, they lost a heartbreaker at Bermudian Springs. They win that game, we could be having an even different conversation right now. So, they've definitely made some strides as the season's moved along, and playing a good game on the road here and possibly winning would be a monumental step forward. But again, I have Steel High winning. Brandon has York Catholic winning. Both teams enter with 5-5 records on their resume. They both were off last weekend with first-round byes. The Class A bracket's obviously a little bit smaller than some of the other ones.
A win gets you to Hershey, and they met in this same matchup last year. York Catholic won 23-8, and York Catholic defense held the Rollers to looks like 176 total yards. The Rollers defense has been on fire lately. They've given up less than 10 points a game in the last 4 wins. Our counterparts up at Penn Live seem to think that Steel High is a 12-point favorite. That's the spread they put on this one.
I love they put spreads on their games. It'll be interesting. I think Steel High's ready to win this one. Like you said, York Catholic got the better end of them last year. These two teams seem to always meet in big-time situations. But we'll see how it goes down. Again, it doesn't take anything away from what York Catholic has done throughout the year, the improvements they've made, and the type of team that we expect them to be next season. I mean, you said this, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago, Brandon. This is going to be a good football team down the road, and they have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, they could be an early preseason. I mean, if you want to look at it right now, who wins the divisions next year? I say York Catholic in Division 3, Eastern and West York maybe in Division 2 as a toss-up. Division 1, probably who knows yet? That's always a toss-up. Maybe Northeastern again because they bring back a ton. But yeah, I mean, for this one, Steel High, they've held some big-time rushers to some pretty bad games down the stretch. Both teams here have kind of been parallel. I mean, they both started off really slowly and both turned it around mid-season. So, I mean, both are coming in hot. It's going to be a good one. I think they cover that Penn Live 12-point spread for sure. I said York has to win, so I definitely think they cover the spread. But I think that's bizarre to put it at 12 points. I think that York Catholic is a little bit better. And you can't sleep on Joe Bayhoff and Luke Brennan, the tight end and wide receiver combo that York has been throwing to as well. They're both top 15, top 20 in receiving this year as well. So, a really balanced offense lately for York Catholic, and they've found a way to... They found what works for them, and they're doing it well.
We shall see how it goes down. Just some updates here for Friday Night Football at Game Time PA. Definitely don't sleep on us. We're going to be all over it. And Saturday as well when Bakerville plays at 1. Get live scoring updates from all the games at Game Time PA's live scoreboard. You can go to our website. We are rocking and rolling on that all day, every day throughout the high school sports year for every single sport, but specifically Friday night here where the playoffs are really rocking and rolling. We will be there. You're obviously listening to our Game Day radio show. This is 4 to 6 p.m. on our homepage, GameTimePA.com. Our homepage live stream always carries this 4 to 6 p.m., and then we are 6 to 8 p.m. on WOYK. AM 1350. We will be moving to an hour-long program once the winter sports season hits, FYI. But you can still catch us every single week. That will be 4 to 5 and then 6 to 7 on the live stream and radio, respectively. Check out our District 3 Gridiron Challenge. You can pick each game. You can try to predict the District 3 football brackets in Class 4A and Class 3A. Winners of those contests will get a $50 gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods. So it's some opportunities there to show off your expertise and knowledge on the high school football playoffs as they unfold. And, of course, our social media accounts. We are rocking and rolling every single day on Twitter. That's at GameTimePA_SC. You can get scoring updates, news, and commentary from every single game that we cover. Also, our Snapchat account. Follow GameTimePA.com on Snapchat for an inside look at what we're working on throughout the course of a game, from kickoff to the final whistle. And our Instagram account, at GameTimePA_SC. Photography, one of our strong suits at GameTimePA. Great imagery across the board. We post images throughout the course of Friday Night Football, give fans scoring updates on there, and try to point them back to some of the great coverage that we do every single week. We will be entering hour number 2 here on Game Day with GameTime PA here on WOYK. Check us back here shortly. We'll be back.
This is a Radio PA news update. When Governor Tom Wolf announced his budget plans last March, they were lofty and extensive. But while there is likely to be some move to boost education funding a bit, the final product's shaping up to be very different than what the governor asked for. The key budgetary change, according to those in the budget talks, appears to be a higher state sales tax to fund property tax relief and additional education funding. Drew Crompton, spokesman for Senate President Pro Tem Joe Scarnati, says it's just politics.
There was a belief that if you utilize the sales tax for the property tax exchange, that's liftable in the House and the Senate, and the governor would sign it.
The question now is, when will the final details be ironed out? Pennsylvania has gone about 4.5 months without a budget. The role played by a former Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice in determining Adolf Hitler's fate will be featured in a new documentary next week. Tori Gates has more.
Michael Musmano was an Allegheny County native who fought in both World Wars and served as a judge during the Nuremberg trials before becoming a Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice. His efforts to confirm that Nazi leader Adolf Hitler had in fact committed suicide in his Berlin bunker is the subject of a new documentary that premieres on the Smithsonian Channel. The Day Hitler Died draws from on-camera interviews conducted by Musmano in 1948, the product of 2 years of searching for witnesses. His aim was to discredit rumors started by Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin that Hitler had escaped the bunker. The documentary airs next Monday. This will be the first time these interviews have been viewed outside Germany. I'm Tori Gates.
A Philadelphia police officer is recovering after he was dragged for a half a block by a stolen car. Police say officers stopped the vehicle last night and questioned the driver, who then took off, hit the officer, and dragged him down the street before he was able to free himself. Police say the pursuit ended when that car crashed into an SUV. And an arbitration panel says Highmark wrongfully lowered cancer care payments to the UPMC system and should pay millions for past claims. Insurance brokers say the ruling will result in higher rates for Highmark customers with group coverage. I'm Brad Chrisman, and you're up to date from Radio PA.
They did it in California, New York, and New Jersey. Across the country, Verizon is forcing customers off their traditional telephone service and onto less reliable and oftentimes more expensive wireless networks. By cutting access to reliable landlines, Verizon has put our schools, businesses, and general safety at risk. To find out more and to tell your legislators to put an end to Verizon's tactics, visit don'thanguponme.com. Paid for by Consumers 2020.
Students, when I call the reason for your absences throughout the years, please exit the auditorium without your high school diploma. Too tired. Family trip. Sick day. Starting the holidays early.
Starting in the 6th grade, students who miss 18 days or more of school in a year for any reason will fall behind and risk not graduating high school. How many days of school has your child missed this year? Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army. Keep track at boostattendance.org.
First in York. First in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.
Suicide bombings, Pentagon threats. I'm John Trout. A pair of suicide bombings has claimed 41 lives, 200 injured in southern Beirut, Lebanon. According to CNN, there's a statement from ISIS claiming responsibility. That statement has not been authenticated. An Ohio man has been charged with trying to arrange the killings of U.S. service members. Pentagon spokesman Peter Cook.
One count of solicitation of a crime of violence, specifically the allegations here that he was soliciting the murder of U.S. service members here in the homeland on behalf of ISIL.
Prosecutors say Terrence McNeil posted online the names and addresses of military members professing support for ISIS, calling on followers to kill Americans. A judge has denied bond for 2 Virginia men accused of trying to buy weapons to attack synagogues and black churches. In custody since Sunday, the FBI says the pair tried to buy explosives from undercover agents posing as gun dealers. I'm John Trout. The University of Missouri has announced a new interim president, Mike Middleton, an African-American, the school's former deputy chancellor. Emboldened by recent upheavals at that university, Ithaca College students staged a walkout Wednesday. Correspondent Paul Verkaman.
Hundreds of students staged a walkout that yesterday. They were demanding the resignation of the president of the college, Tom Rochon. They chanted no confidence and new president now. And the students cited what they called his lackluster response to racial insensitivity on campus.
Federal prosecutors say they'll seek a 12-and-a-half-year prison term for former Subway pitchman Jared Fogle, who agreed to plead guilty to child pornography. Prosecutors also asking for Fogle to have a lifetime of supervision after release. Sentencing is set for November 19th. On Wall Street, the Dow is down 206 points. The Nasdaq off 44 points. The S&P down 22 points. I'm John Trout.
Geico applauds your inner journey seeker.
Geico gives a hearty pat on the back to the part of you that just wants to get out and ride your motorcycle, to take to the open road, and let the wind and bugs fly your way. In fact, bring on the bugs. They can't stop your quest for highway enlightenment. Geico insures not only your car, but also that fine-looking bike of yours, with a custom-tailored policy and the best rates for you. So next time you suit up for adventure, make sure to take Geico along for the ride.
Geico Motorcycle. See how much you could save.
This is Charles Osgood. Tax compliance can be a real pain for businesses. That's why I'd like to tell you about Avalara's powerful tax automation technology. Avalara simplifies sales tax and other business taxes with real-time tax rate calculations and automatic return filing. Avalara's software already integrates with your accounting, e-commerce, and point-of-sale systems, so it couldn't be easier. Find out how the good people at Avalara can help you at avalara.com. That's AVALARA.com.
Hi, this is Jesse Shea, head coach of the Red Lion Lions. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Back, game time, GameDay PA.
Brandon, it's game day with GameTime PA. We're good. Go.
Every week it annoys me. I cannot ever get that. And I only had one time to do it this week, and I still couldn't do it. Anyway, this is our crazy cousin segment. This is the time when I basically usually toss questions to Zach and Teddy, and we go over some talking points and kind of get away from football for a little bit and just kind of discuss things. Zach's not here, so it's going to be me and Teddy going back and forth with a couple questions for each other. Teddy, actually, we're going to stay in football first. I want to hear who you think has a better chance of pulling the upset this week, Biglerville or Northern. Both facing the undefeated 1 seeds. Actually, not undefeated. McDevitt lost one game.
I don't think either one's going to win. I mean, just being honest about it.
Right, who has a better chance?
I realize what you're saying. This is a difficult question for me. I have to go Northern. I feel like... Again, I think both are extremely hard. They're just both facing great. This takes nothing away from how the local teams have done. Biglerville and Northern are both had good seasons in my estimation. They both won their first-round games, and Biglerville's been proving me wrong throughout the year. So let's just get that out of the way right now. But I think, I think basically... I think Biglerville at YO missing. I wonder about the quality of YAIA Division III. I think that I see Hanover, just being honest about, with a 9-1 record. They had some real issues with Biglerville this year. I think them going on the road, I think they're going to face a team that really runs the football well. I think it's going to be a tall order. Northern York's had a good season. You mentioned that Bishop McDevitt overlooked their previous foe in the first round, so maybe Northern could hang with them a little bit. But I hate to say it's kind of even for me on the hardness scale or on the challenge scale, but
Right.
It's kind of even for me on that. I think these are really rough draws for both teams, personally.
I think both teams are at like a 4 and a 5% chance of upsetting, but I think Biglerville has the 5 and Northern has the 4. I just don't think Wyoming is as dominant in their class as McDevitt is, and they just don't have like the aura to them that you walk into McDevitt playing those guys. It's a little bit different. I like the spreads, like we said that our counterpoints were doing. They gave they made Wyoming missing 23-point favorites against Biglerville. That's the spread they have for that one. They don't even have one for Northern McDevitt. It's just not even.
It's off the books.
Yeah, it's just off the books. Like that, we're not even going to make that one.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Biglerville has a better chance. I think in a scrappy AA, run game, I think it's easier chance to pull off an upset in AA than it is in AAA. There's just so much talent at the top there. I think those top teams, Manheim Central, Bishop McDevitt, those guys are on a whole different level in AAA.
Tough draws, real tough draws.
Really tough draws, I think. And the Biglerville one's Saturday too. I don't know if that can make anything different. I don't know how that can play into it.
Yeah, no, that's it. Maybe that'll throw a monkey wrench into things where Biglerville can kind of go out and kind of an unconventional kickoff, and maybe that'll play in their favor a little bit, or maybe it won't. I'm sure they're traveling there that morning, so again, just very difficult road journey. And I knew the second, these are interesting ball games, coming down the pike, and I. But hey, best of luck to both teams. And like you said, maybe Biglerville can find some success running the ball and can kind of hold them down a little bit in the ground game. But I don't see either team winning per se. I just think it's going to be very difficult football games.
Yeah, and they both play pretty run heavy teams. Northern York or Northeastern plays a pass heavy team. If you're a defensive coordinator, you think it's a little bit easier to get ready for a pass happy team or a run happy team?
If I'm a D coordinator, I would much rather face a finesse football team that might not block as well up front. That's just me. I just feel I'm a firm believer in the offensive line. I think it's the most, aside from the quarterback position, it's the most important position in the game. And it's the most important unit if you're talking about 5 collective people together.
Right.
And to me, a successful team that runs the ball well, to me that means they have a good offensive front. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'd rather face a finesse team that might kind of throw it around a little bit. And then again, if they have a great quarterback, that's going to present its own challenges. I look at, we talked about Susquehanna Township. Their quarterback looks like an elite player. So, again, that presents its own challenges as well. I think the bottom line is this. You don't want to face a balanced team.
No,
that's the key. I think an offense's goal is always to achieve balance. And if you're facing a team that can do both very well, that's a scary proposition. If you can kind of key in on one or the other, I think that certainly can help. But I know for a fact if I'm facing a bunch of hogs up front that are really going to protect the quarterback well, block really well up front, that's a really scary proposition for me.
Yeah, I might go the other way. I've always thought it's easier to stop a good run team than it is to stop a good pass team. I think if you have a good passing attack at the high school level, it's just it's very, very tough to put it's hard to get a bunch of 16-year-olds to play a decent coverage.
Right. I think maybe I'm locked into like 1970s football a little bit. No, I'm with you. And I think on the high school level it might be a little bit different too. Mm-hmm. I just see all the teams that try to spread you out now. And, I still like smash mouth football. And again, you can be a great O-line and still block in the passing game real well too. Mm-hmm. And again, hey, look, if you have a great quarterback, you're not going to get any argument here.
Right.
That position, that's a straw that stirs the drink.
I agree. You said you had a local question for me?
I did. So William Penn football, they opened up their coaching position last week. You did a story on it. Or actually, Jim Sipe did it. I apologize. You wrote an email. You were in Altoona that night.
Yeah, I was in Altoona.
You wrote an email to Sipe and I. Jim jumped on it. Joe Chiotti at William Penn AD said they open it up. That doesn't mean Coach Heinold can't reapply, but it seems like for all intents and purposes that the new guy will be on the sideline.
Well, I think his quote was, "I don't intend to reapply," and William Penn does that for every sport, every season.
Right. I don't think they're anticipating him back. Your stay here, you got here right before football season kicked off. You were in Hanover for a year before then. But I guess your opinion on the William Penn football job, and I think there's interest in the job, and here's why. Have they been a good program? Oh, absolutely not. We're not going to try to paint an accurate picture here. There is interest there, though. There's history with that school. I think in some form or fashion, people would like to see them be better on the football field. Last year, they were a 3-7 team. The year before this year, they were 0-10. They were literally not competitive in any game. I don't even think they scored 100 points this year.
No, they did not.
But last year, they were competitive. They were 3-7. There may have been a couple games that were in the balance here and there. What do you think? I know I have an opinion on this, and I certainly want to talk a little bit, but I want to know what you think that program needs from a coaching standpoint. Look, here's the thing. I'm from the mindset of this. I think this past year with Coach Heinold, I'm not going to sit here and judge Coach Heinold. There are certain scenarios where it's like the Titanic. It does not matter how you arrange the seats on the boat. The ship is going down either way. And I think when you have a very small roster in football, it's difficult. What do you think they need? I have an opinion. What do you think they need coming there to really right the ship there?
I think they need a laundry list of things.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
I think from talking to other coaches in the area, they need a coaching staff that's in the school. I think that's one of the parents' biggest complaints. The coaches are from out of the area. They don't spend time with these kids. They don't connect with these kids. And talking to parents, the biggest issue was a disconnect. The coaches and players didn't have a lot of respect for each other. And that's an issue. I mean, if your coaches aren't there, building relationships with those players, if they're not there in the locker room with these players, why are the players going to feel like going to football that night? You know what I mean? So I think a coach who connect with these players a little bit, who can spend more time with them. Not to say that Heinold didn't. I haven't even talked to Heinold. I don't know what issues he had with there.
We've tried to reach out to him just for a point of order.
Right. The thing working against them is they've lost thousands of kids to the charter schools now. Like York High, the York City School District is bleeding with kids. They've lost thousands. I think the superintendent said there's 2,000 kids in the district who are going to some other school at this point, between York County Tech, between York Country Day, something. So they're losing. There's a ton of talent in York City. That there's no doubt about that. Because in the York High's prime, I mean they've won district title. They've been a solid football team, a dominant football team at times when they've had somebody like a Matt Ortega in there. They've pumped out
not long ago.
And I mean the late 2000s when I was in high school at Central, William Penn was the team to beat. They were the team everyone was scared to play. And Ortega was there, and he was pumping out Penn State player after Penn State player after UConn player.
It's pretty awesome.
Rutgers player, he was pumping out D1.
I wasn't here for that, but I kind of wish I was.
It was awesome, man. And the other thing is when they're winning, small field is just one of the coolest places to be at for a game when they're winning. The community support downtown, you see signs on the window, everyone's wearing blue and orange. You can see it during basketball season now. I mean, that place, they have a very dedicated,
tough place to play, boy.
Very loyal fan base when they're winning, and when they're not winning, they expect a lot. When they're not winning, they're gonna let you hear about it. They're very upset right now. But I kind of talked to Ortega about what happened after he left, and he said that it's not all on Heinold. I mean, Heinold was kind of stripped of his resources. When you have 2,000 kids leave the school district, there goes a huge talent pool, obviously, and astronomical talent pool going. Then you become a smaller quad A school, so you're basically a double A population wise playing a quad A schedule.
Yeah,
which is that's an uphill battle. I think they need a coach. I think they need a coach who can convince kids to not go to York Country Day or York County Tech. One, convince them why they should stay at York High. Two, they need to bring back the pride. I'm not saying an alumni, but somebody, put an alumni on the staff or bring somebody there who wants Bearcat pride.
Understand the history of the program,
right?
With some of the stuff you spoke about, so it's not so trapped in what just happened this past year, maybe in recent years.
They need to bring and they need some tenacity. And there's some candidates out there that people are asking for and think could have a good shot at it, but they need the pride back. They need some tenacity back. They need to keep those kids in the school district. The school district's also been being stripped of its resources. I mean, the school district almost went bankrupt or did go bankrupt, I believe, 2 years ago. They had to lay off hundreds of teachers, and there goes half your assistant coaches. So compared to the staff that Ortega had, compared to what Heinold had this last year, is almost half of that. So you've lost 2,000 kids, you've lost half your coaching staff guaranteed, and you're playing a quad A schedule still.
I think everything you said to me boils down to one thing, to be honest with you. I agree with everything you said. I think they need, first and foremost, if they can turn it around, if it's possible, they need someone who can identify with those kids. They need, again, you're not going to win. I don't care what anyone... Okay, first of all, we'll just take it to basketball. Okay, Coach Sowers does a nice job there.
He does a great job.
But here's why it's different. In basketball, if you have 2 or 3 good kids, I think they have more than that. But if you have 2 or 3, you're going to have a good product. If you have 2 or 3 in football, you're going to get rolled.
Yeah.
You need 20 plus, and then you need depth. Yeah. And you can't sit here and tell me that they don't have pockets of good athletes on that football team. I am sure they do. But do they have any on the line? We talked about that. You need to have numbers. You need to have strength in numbers. You need those kids to come out and to want to play football. And if you get them out there, you will see results. Now, I am not suggesting it's easy. I am not suggesting that the past coaching staff, that it's their fault. Look, when you struggle like that, people are going to point fingers. That just comes to the territory. Mm-hmm. But I do think they need a staff and a coach who can come in and just really identify with the student body there, the kids there. And you're right, they need someone in-house. That falls under everything you said. It kind of just falls under that umbrella. Again, no knock. They just need someone who can come and identify with the kids and that can get the ship moving in the right direction. Not an easy task. No. I don't know if there's a man out there that can do it, but
and I think expectations need to be tempered a little bit because these parents aren't understanding that, and these alumni are coming home and not realizing that these are the issues they're dealing with. You're playing with a school district, falling apart basically. So, like we said, you have no assistant coaches left to pay. You have a talent pool who's left the city and gone out elsewhere. They're also transferring. I mean, York Catholic, Central York, and Northeastern continues to take kids out of the city. Families just moving out. It's a bleeding school district. It's a bleeding program, and that's a big issue. And the parents who are saying, this is another issue I have with the parents saying you need an alumni. That's not true at all. Ortega wasn't an alumni. He won here. Sowers,
no. You need someone that can just identify.
Yeah, Sowers isn't an alumni. He's a West York guy. He's still winning at William Penn.
I think with they're just trying to nail down kind of all the things you said. Someone that can identify, someone that you don't need to be an alumni to understand the history. You just need to do some of your homework.
Yeah.
So again, very difficult job. I don't even know if it can be done, but I do know it starts there. You need to be able to identify with the young men that are going to be taking the football field for you on Friday. You really do.
And it doesn't matter who comes in next year. It's going to be an uphill battle. I think Ortega said it best. He's like, I don't think Nick Saban can make them a winning team next year. It's going to take a while to get that. I mean, there's a lot of issues that need to be fixed in the school.
Brandon's working on a story on this, by the way. I mean, he's not just interviewing people like this for his health.
Doing a story on it. Excited. Hopefully it comes out in the next week or two. It would be great. But it's a huge issue, and the city loves its football team, loves its basketball team. So to see it in this much despair is sad for the city.
Yeah, no, there's no question. It would really bring a lot. It wasn't that long ago they were good, but it feels like it was a long time ago. It's funny. They were this past year got so dire. It actually made last year's 3-7 campaign with some pockets of competitiveness here and there. It made it feel like they were the '85 Bears. I mean, you talked about people need to temper their expectations. I look at that just from the 30,000 foot view, from the journalistic standpoint, and I was longing for that 3-7 pockets of competitiveness season. I mean, that's how bad this year was. They were not. They were competitive, mildly competitive in one game, the New Oxford game.
But I mean, last year they had James Way and Bryshon Sweeney who kind of carried them to 3 wins. Like a lot of parents were saying, if it wasn't for those two, they would have gone 0-10 last year.
Oh, maybe so, but at least they still had those two.
Yeah. Now they don't have anything. They need a lot of help. The coaching job's open. They want it filled before the new year. So hopefully we'll figure out soon what's going on. There's some candidates out there. Like we said, there's a lot of coaching changes last year. So there's some guys out there that could use a job. It'll be interesting to see what they do. And they said, I was at a board meeting, and they said that they're not going to hire the best Bearcat alumni. They're going to hire the best candidate possible, which is a good sign.
Which is clearly what they should do.
Right.
Hire the best person, hire the best man for the job, and see what can happen. But hey, it's definitely there's a laundry list of things.
We spoke about Sowers. We spoke about William Penn basketball. I want to ask you a basketball question. This just came up actually in an interview today. Kobe Bryant said that AAU basketball is killing the sport, and I want to hear your opinion on it. He said there's so many games being played without a concept of how to play them. Everything is off the ball and how to beat your man off the ball. There's no concept of playing 2-man or 3-man games or combinations. that concept's a lost art. It's draining the sport. It's killing the sport. That's a quote straight from Kobe Bryant, one of the all-time greats.
Do I think it's true? I think there's still players that understand the team concept that come out of AAU ball. It clearly puts more of an emphasis on the individual. I don't think there's any debate there. But yeah, I don't think it's helped by any stretch of the imagination. But I just think in general, I think it starts from the top. I think the game has changed so much over the years, where it used to be more team oriented. I think the college game is still team oriented, and I still think you need a good team on any level. I still think you need pieces, whether you're talking pro basketball, college basketball, high school basketball. You still need your grinder, your guy who's going to get after on the defensive end of the floor. You still need your board bangers. It's still not just a one-man game. But I think athletically, players have gotten so much better over the years. Why not just isolate a guy one-on-one and see if he can take a player? You don't really need to play team ball anymore. I mean, if we're talking pro basketball, if you're talking NBA, if you're looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I don't want to get off topic here because we're trying to talk local high school sports, but I mean, you can score 115 points with your offense being LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving's obviously hurt now, but you don't really need a lot more than that. I think the talent level is so high, and I think people like in AAU or I think they've capitalized on that a bit because you can find your great talent, filter them in, get them what they need from a scholarship standpoint, and move on. I mean, they're clearly not. It's kind of like your independent minor league baseball, where it's like we're going to focus on the numbers. It's very numbers driven. It's very individualized. In the team concept, wins don't matter as much as the numbers do. But I think that's just overall kind of where we're at with sports now. And I hate to say that, but is that AAU's kind of a product of the overall overarching issue there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I don't think it's killing the sport. I think you can make an argument that it's killing high school basketball because, I mean, a lot of these kids are sitting out just to play AAU or they're cruising through high school. High school is kind of a second thing for them. AAU is their biggest thing.
Club sports have become that way.
And there's ways it's helping, there's ways it's hurting. The ways it's helping is it's putting these guys up against much better talent. Like these guys are 16-year-olds playing other top 16-year-olds around the country instead of just playing 16-year-old. So if we had a kid here who was an NBA prospect, instead of playing competition from Biglerville and Hanover and that's all he gets, AAU lets him get play the top players in the state and get that much better, which is a good thing. I think it might hurt because one, you're playing an extra 3 months or 4 months of the year, so that's more wear and tear on you.
Right.
Your legs are already old by the time you even get to the league. More opportunities for injuries, obviously. And it also just takes away from you. I mean, there's not as many high school basketball rivalries or people. There's not much compassion in high school basketball if all your focus is on the AAU game.
I know covering this more so at my last gig, and it might be different here, but I don't see why it would be. You would look at because we'll even take it off of the A. We'll take it like a club soccer level. Kids that played soccer at my old gig in the Southwest, they geared up for club soccer all the time. They knew the competition was going to be great there. Mm-hmm. That's where not make their money, but that's where the scholarship was going to come from. Kind of similar to what you're saying. And to be honest with you, the high school level, they pretty much cruised through the season until the state playoffs came when they really saw the bread and butter competition in the state quarterfinals, in the state semifinals, in the state championship. That's when it really ramped up. But the cream of the crop were playing on the club level. And that's what they really got up for. So I think that just kind of plays to your point. I think there's a lot of reason the team concept has been hurt. AAU's one of them.
There's also an emphasis. I mean, when you watch an ESPN highlight, there's no Hoosiers highlights. There's no, watch how there's 5 passes here in a layup. It's watch Steph Curry cross somebody and break his ankle.
And look, I love Kobe Bryant. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I am a fan. I've always been a fan. I love his fire. I love his spirit. I love his competitiveness. Don't get me wrong.
But right
Kobe
now,
Bryant has shot more basketballs over the past 20 years of NBA basketball than maybe anyone. That guy jacks it up. I mean, I look, again, I love his spirit. I love his competitiveness. He understands the game. I have nothing but I love the way he plays, and I'm all. But I mean, honestly, that dude can jack it up. I just don't want to hear that.
I think right now he just sounds like an old man get off my lawn kind of thing, and he's turned like that way in his older years. He's turned into like this elder. These young kids don't know what they're talking about.
He has.
And at one point, I mean, he came straight out of high school, and he was the young kid at one point.
He even he's the dude's led the league in shots. There's been plenty of years for that. He definitely you want to talk about again. I think he's great. He's a champion, but I take nothing away from him. But he definitely has put the ball up over.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna text our editor right now and let her know I want to do a column on that next week or a story on that next week.
You should do that.
I will. Anything else for us?
I think that's it.
When we come back, we're going to talk some hoops previews. We got our guys out in the field talking to coaches, talking to players, and seeing what the season's going to bring. We're going to talk to you a little bit about that. See you after the break.
Waking up with the Steve Zabin Show.
When Mike Weir finally won the Masters as a lefty, it had broken like some 70-year stretch or something like that with no lefties winning. But since Mike Weir took the lid off lefties, 6 of the last 12 Masters tournaments have been won by southpaws. Behold, your stat of the day.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Pain doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app.
This Sunday, an NFC West battle. The San Francisco 49ers travel up to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Blaine Gabbert will lead the Niners with the help of running back Carlos Hyde. The Hawks have their own talented back, and his name is Marshawn Lynch. The Niners lost the first one at home and are looking to return the favor. 49ers at the Seahawks, right here on Sports USA.
Your home for the NFL. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, this is Wayne McCullough. Join me every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for Central PA Game Day, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Join us as we celebrate the best of local sports with your teams and your student athletes. Interviews with players and coaches and the high school scoreboard show every Saturday morning. Central PA Game Day, Saturdays at 9 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, this is Dave Kemick, head coach of the Eastern York Golden Knights. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Back Game Day with GameTime PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg joined by Brandon Stoneberg. I think that we were going to talk high school basketball. Certainly don't want to shortchange some of the other programs that were in the PIAA tournaments this past week, and we'll get on them next segment for sure. But we have been working feverishly, particularly Brandon and I and Christian and some other people at Game Time. We're putting together a high school basketball tab. But that also gives us a lot of content to talk about. Brandon actually did, he handled predominantly the Division I previews for boys and girls basketball. And, we talked about William Penn football in the last segment and how they've struggled, but let's talk about a program that has not struggled at William Penn. Clearly their premier sport has been their boys basketball program, and this year really figures to be no different. Troy Sowers has that program moving in the right direction, and something tells me they're going to be good again.
Yeah, and in polling, coaches agree with this. In polling all the coaches in Division I, they unanimously called William Penn the team to win. They think they're going to win the division. Yeah. They can maybe win the district again. here are the things that hurt William Penn. They lost Player of the Year Jair Wilson to graduation. They lost Chris Johnson, who was also a starter. Things that help them, they bring back Montrell Morgan, the senior guard. Their backcourt is Montrell Morgan and Trey Shiflett, most likely the best guard combo in the league, I would assume. Montrell Morgan, potential Player of the Year. He's a few hundred points away from setting the record for most points in York High history. I mean, he did some of that before he got to York High, but very, very solid overall player, Montrell Morgan. They have Brandon Smallwood, a good presence down low for them. He's going to have to get his rebound and block numbers a little bit up this year with Wilson being gone, but he averaged 13 points a game last year.
Well, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Smallwood might be gone.
He's gone as well. I thought Johnson was the one that was gone.
No, Christopher Johnson returns. Smallwood is not going to be there, from my understanding.
Okay.
We can sort this out on the commercial break.
The other team to beat in Division I, Spring Grove, is still going to be on the rise. That's a team that's gone from 2 wins to 7 wins to 15 wins, and they still bring everyone back. Eli Brooks, another potential Player of the Year, getting significant D1 interest, already has 9 scholarship offers in hand. Only a junior, hasn't even stepped on the floor for his junior year yet. One of the best players in the area for sure, hands down. And he's only getting better. I mean, he's played at camps. He's played in the AAU circuit. I mean, he's played some of the top in the AAU circuit. He's played some of the top guards in Philly and held his own.
I feel like he could just continues to mature.
He does. He's getting some. I mean, teams like Notre Dame and Maryland have made calls on him and come to check him out. So I mean, those are 2 of the top programs in the country. They also have Darren Gordon. Darren Gordon doesn't. He kind of plays in a little bit of a shadow of Brooks.
Solid supporting cast.
Great player. He's a senior. He can rebound like a forward. He can shoot like a guard. Spring Grove is so small that Gordon somehow ends up playing center sometimes, so he guards the biggest guy. But on most teams, he'd probably play small forward. But has a great jump shot, especially off the dribble. He's getting looked at. I think York College is high on him, but him and Brooks as a 1-2 wing point guard duo is really, really solid. They also have some 3-point specialists like Liam Flaherty, at guard as well. So overall, and Grant Weirman, who had a game winner against Redline, another 3-point specialist. So overall, they have some shooters. They lose Eric Myers, who came off the bench a little bit for him last year, but they bring pretty much everyone else back. They could use some size for sure, but I mean they're going to outshoot most teams. They'll probably slide into that second spot in Division I. Central's going to take a step back. They lose Charlie Ginrich, who decided not to play this year, and they lose Saxton to graduation. So
you knew Saxton was coming. You didn't know Gingrich was coming. That's the bottom line.
Gingrich was what most players agree that he was the best low post player.
Interior player. Good rebounder, tough player, yeah.
He's decided not to play this year. So their best player, Jared Wagner, a guard, another guard coming back. Real big defensive stopper, great wing option. He averaged about 12 points a game last year. He's going to have to take on a much bigger role scoring-wise this year. So definitely expect him to be one of the best players in the league. And that's probably like between Brooks, Gordon, Wagner, and the 2 William Penn guys, that's pretty much your 5 players to watch for Division I boys. On the girls' side, the girls are going to be really competitive. There's probably 2 or 3 teams that can win on the girls' side. Dallastown's probably not going to be back. They lost a lot. Central York is expected on the girls' side to do really well. Emma Saxton averaged 6 rebounds, 3 steals, and 9 points as a sophomore. She's coming back as a junior, obviously. They also have Nixon Valencic, a junior forward. She had a big year. They have a couple young players as well. Redline's gonna be a team to watch. They got Courtney Demoff, coach's daughter, 4-year starter, returning first team All-Star.
Well-coached team.
They bring everyone back from a pretty solid team last year. Demoff averaged 15 points, hit 51 3-pointers. She could be a potential player of the year as well. Some other storylines: New Oxford, they got a new coach. They don't have any seniors on the team from a team that won a district game last year. Junior Kaylin Long is going to lead those guys. She averaged 10 points as a sophomore. She's one of the few forwards or low post players on the girls' side. J.C. Shipley, a senior guard at Southwestern, one of the best underrated guards in the league. She's 26 3-pointers away from the school's all-time record for 3-pointers made, so she could have a big milestone as well this year as well.
I think that pretty much covers D1. Clearly some solid things to look out for. Like you said, William Penn's going to be outstanding. I think that and it sounds like on the D1 side of things, from a girls' standpoint, things are going to be pretty much wide open. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Dallastown. They obviously lost a really solid core group of players.
On the girls' side, they lost a big core player, yeah.
Yeah, no question about that. Stepping into the Division II side of things, I think on the boys' side at least, West York could be a very good club. Coach Ackerman has it going on. Josh Bailey's going to have a very solid year. I think for schools like Northeastern, West York, even Gettysburg, all of them qualified. All of them made the postseason last year. The question is, what can they do outside of that? I think West York, for instance, has proven that for the most part, one could say they're a premier program locally.
I think for sure. I think Ackerman is one of the best, if not the best, coach in the area.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He went 18-8 last year, and he brings back almost pretty much everyone. He brings back basically the same roster, a very senior-heavy roster this year. He lost Diego Torres, but he has Josh Bailey coming back, like you said, one of the best point guards in the league, 14 points a game. Darian McCauley down low, he's 6'2" as a forward. Matt Delafrofano, he's 6'2" as a forward down low, so they have some size. Terry Kane's a great football player, can step in off the bench down low. He's also 6'2".
I love Terry Kane's on the basketball court. I didn't even realize he was on the team, to be honest with you. He's a great football player.
Their size is pretty solid for a high school team. They got 6'2", 6'2", 6'2", 6'3", 6'2", 6'4". And then some solid guards mixed in, like Ian Lalick and Josh Bailey as well. So coaches were saying...
They're going to be good.
Coaches were saying Northeastern and... Northeastern West York were the players were the teams to beat Division II. Maybe even maybe give William Penn a run for the league, but those are going to be the top three teams I think across the entire league: Northeastern, West York, William Penn, really in any order. Because Northeastern brings back Kobe Nwando, maybe the best player in the league, 6'5" guard, Diamond Maxfield, Jeffrey Reynolds, also a pretty solid squad. They're well coached as well. They went 23-6 last year.
No, there's no doubt about that. On the girls' side of things, I mean, we'll stick on West York. They lost a ton of ammunition from this past year. They had Langford. They also had, I'm blanking on her name. Emily Wood. Both of them could really score the basketball. So they'll be asked to replace both of them. Last year, West York had a fantastic year. They were undefeated really throughout the season. I believe their first loss came in the District 3 tournament, and then they lost a really tough road matchup in the PIAAs, but they had a very solid year. But they're going to have to bring back a lot, or they're not bringing back a lot. They're going to have to really fill the void. York Suburban had a solid year last year on the girls' side of things. Jess Barley won GameTime PA Coach of the Year at Suburban last season. They had their first winning record, 19-9, first winning record since 2009. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty crazy stat right there. We'll see how they can kind of rebound there. Northeastern will have a new coach in the fold, so that will be interesting to see how things play out on that side of the ball. And, of course, at Dover High School, you have the Fink sisters. They were both solid last season for Dover. We'll see how they can kind of tag team that and put together a solid squad. What about Division III basketball? It's obviously something you covered pretty closely last year, just working in the Hanover area. Mm-hmm. We'd be remiss if we didn't start out with York Catholic. I mean, their history, if you will, speaks for itself. They've won 10 straight District 3 championships, that's a mind-boggling stat.
Right.
It's funny because you hear the chatter, well, we lost a lot, but then you look at their starting lineup and they have a lot of seniors starting again. And they have their one underclassman starting is Kay Bayhoff, who was sensational last season. So I figure they're going to be right back at the top.
Yeah, they got Benko's coaching. As long as he's there, they're going to be fine. They lose Hannah Laszlo, obviously. Bayhoff as a freshman last year started with 4 seniors who are all gone, obviously. They bring back Bayhoff, who averaged 11 points a game, maybe the best guard on the girls' side in the entire league, 5'6", sophomore guard. Emily Laszlo, Hannah's sister, comes back as a 5'11" senior. Danielle Dessian is going to be the other starting guard with Bayhoff. So there's going to be a lot of holes to fill, but their schedule is going to be easy enough for them to kind of get going there. They're not going to. The rest of that division is not going to be all that great, so they're going to have time to get going. Hanover lost Sakana Tracy, who's one of their all-time leading scorers.
Huge loss. They lost her to injury. That was not graduation.
Yeah, she got hurt before her senior year. Littlestown went 4-18 last year. They're not expected to do much.
That's really unfortunate that she got, I believe it's a knee injury right before her senior season. That's too bad.
She was their all-time leading scorer on the girls' side. She was close to breaking the school's all-time record set last year by Dylan Krieger.
Mm-hmm.
So they lose. Hanover's going to lose. Loses that. DeLone loses Maddie Comley. Basically all league player. They went 21-7. They bring back Allie Shipley, though, averaged 10 points a game, 5'9", kind of an off guard / forward. Jill Novak, a junior, 6-foot forward. She averaged 8.6 boards. She could be in for a big year. Katie Loftman, defense and assist point guard. Elise Knobloch, Lily Singleton, 2 girls that came off the bench last year, are going to have to step in and kind of fill that Conley spot by committee. So DeLone can be pretty solid again. Bigville loses a bunch. Berm doesn't bring a bunch back. So, York Catholic's still going to have a chance to be
It's
there.
like you kind of said. Everyone's going to be looking to find their sea legs. And to be honest with you, when the circumstances are like that, I'm going to take York Catholic's winning tradition, experience, and a great player in Bayhoff, who knows exactly what he's doing. You know, a couple of those seniors are going to step up. They'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure.
What about from a boys' standpoint? Again, some big shoes to fill. I mean, Dylan Krieger, we know the type of year he had last year. I mean, the dude was a scoring machine. He leaves Hanover. It looked like on paper, at least, that DeLone Catholic was bringing back some guys, and they had a decent core. Coach Williams, I believe, enters his second year there. Or are they going to make some noise?
Yeah, I mean, they struggled for a few years after Jim Dooley passed away. Williams in his second year. They went 12-12 last year. They went 10-4 in division. They struggled when they played out of division teams, but they bring back a solid group. Tavian Dorsey, very talented football player, also a very talented track star. Plays basketball as well. A starting guard, he averaged 9 a game. Bryce Mundorf down low, 6'4" senior. He can step out and shoot a little bit too, so he's gonna be the big guy down low. And then Logan Alexander, who was a guy off the bench last year, provided a spark scoring. Ended up starting midway through the year. He's a junior guard, 11 points a game, great defensive player as well. That's gonna be the core coming back. They lose O'Boyle and Bowman, seniors in the starting lineup, so they bring back 3 seniors. The bench will definitely be a question, but Williams has those guys work all year round. Great coach. He has something working there. They won a district playoff game last year as well before they lost to the 1 seed, so they could be pretty solid. And again, the rest of that division, I mean, York Catholic loses Martello, Hanover loses Krieger and Rhodes and Balsherman. Hanover could be in for definitely a downgrade year. Littlestown went 1-21 last year.
It's fine. I just want to say the one thing that. What about Biglerville? I mean, what do you think they could do?
Biglerville, I can see Biglerville putting some wins together, especially in a weaker division. Noah Ayers is a junior guard, averaged 18 points a game last year as a sophomore. I think 10 a game as a freshman. He's just a gunner. I've seen that kid shoot. He comes down looking for a shot every time. Cody Schaefer as a freshman last year averaged 9 points a game. He's back as a sophomore. Their backcourt is very underrated, especially down there in Division III. They have a freshman center, Drew Riley, who they're high on, and a freshman forward, Gavin Parker, who they're high on, 6'5" and 6'1". So it's a young team. I mean, just one senior. Their starting center is a senior, but besides that, their best players are all juniors and freshmen. So Biglerville could be a team to keep an eye on. They could be kind of a dark horse down there in Division III.
I just want to say it's funny, reading all the previews, going through them all, I felt like every headline could be big shoes to fill. I get the feel just like that, though. Of course, that's going to be high school, college sports when you're on 4-year cycles. You're always going to have marquee players leaving.
And a lot of on the boys' side, a lot of the marquee players last year were seniors, so it's going to be a whole new class of people you're kind of looking to this year.
It'll be exciting. I think we preview basketball. I think we'll be back talking PIAA, state tournament, how things unfolded in recent weeks. We'll be back game day with GameTime PA.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Football Student Athlete of the Week is Anu Johnson from Northeastern. The Bobcat was a key contributor to his team on Friday with 16 carries, 230 yards, and 2 touchdowns in Northeastern's 48-12 District 3 win over Northern Lebanon. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Ashley Stone from Susquehannock Soccer. The goalkeeper did all she could to help keep the Warriors in contention during Saturday's penalty kick loss to Mercyhurst Prep. She had 14 saves, with the game ending in a scoreless tie after regulation and the double overtime periods. And this week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Caleb Lippy from Susquehannock Soccer. Lippy kicked home the game-winning goal on Saturday off a free kick with 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining as the Warriors beat South Fayette 1-0.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
Did you know that Shipley Energy can take care of all your energy needs? From heating oil and propane to providing your home with electricity and natural gas. We also provide heating and air conditioning service and installation. All of your energy needs are under one roof at Shipley Energy. To learn more, visit shipleyenergy.com. Call 855-4SHIPLEY and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Hi, this is Eric Depew, head coach of the York Catholic Fighting Irish. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
Welcome back. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. This is our final segment of the show. We are here to recap the PIAA championships. We had teams get eliminated essentially across the board this past week. Volleyball, we mentioned at the top of the program, Central York, DeLone Catholic, and York Catholic all got ousted last Saturday. They all lost in straight sets. All three of those teams had great years. They lost in the quarterfinals of the PIAA. York Catholic lost to North Star. DeLone Catholic lost to Villa Maria Academy. No, it's not Villa. It's Villa. Thank you. I live in southern New Mexico. And Central York lost to Cumberland Valley. All of them lost in straight sets. Again, those were in the district quarters. Great years for all of those teams. In the field hockey standpoint, I don't believe we had any teams qualify for the PIAA. Dallastown got eliminated right off of the bat. Susquehannock Soccer had good runs in both boys and girls. This past week, Susquehannock Soccer on the boys' side of things lost to South Park 4-2. That was in the state semifinals on Tuesday. On the girls' side of things, Susky Soccer lost in the state quarterfinals to Mercyhurst Prep. But both of those programs got extremely far. We tip our hat to them. Gettysburg Soccer lost a tough one. They lost in the state quarters. They were 21-0 at one point this season. They lost maybe they were 22-0 at one point. They lost in the District 3 championship, and then they won their first round state tournament match against Lansdale Catholic, but then they fell 2-0 to Northwestern Lehigh in the quarterfinals. I know that was a disappointing loss and a bitter pill to swallow for the Gettysburg boys. I actually really anticipated them going farther. Central York boys lost in the first round of the PIAA boys soccer championship. They lost to Fox Chapel and a penalty kick shootout. Again, kind of a bitter pill to swallow there. I think that they had aspirations of possibly going a bit deeper. Again, that's me talking without speaking to the coaching staff or the players. That was just the sense that I got. Brandon, what stood out to you from this past season? First year covering YAIAA sports from a York standpoint. What were some of the key takeaways from you?
Well, I think out of that group you specifically mentioned, I think DeLone and Central volleyball, great. Well, Central was going through a rough stretch, and they've kind of turned their program around. Now they're a premier program, which is pretty cool to see. They're very excited to get to where they had gotten to. DeLone, has been consistently pretty good. They were really emotional though, because this group of seniors, had gone to states 4 years in a row, and I believe they won states a few years ago. But they wanted to try and get back there again. That was one of the most emotional groups I've seen after a loss. This one hurt them a little bit extra.
And they're used to kind of advancing. Maybe sometimes when you're advancing to a certain point for the first time, it's not a big deal. But they've been there before.
Yeah. Susky, I think, kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, they had a pretty solid season in the league, but no one pointed at their soccer team saying, "Hey, they're going to make a run in states."
They totally came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere. The boys team finally just lost, I think, yesterday. And the semifinals? You said to North Star.
Yeah, in the semifinals to North Star 4-2. They battled. They were also that game was crazy competitive. I mean, they were right there. I think they led at a certain point.
And then the girls losing on penalty kicks after. I mean, both those teams also traveled to Altoona 3 times in the last week to play. So.
They really got to know that drive to Altoona.
Yeah, they were on their third or fourth
cross-country trip.
Cross-country trip there at the end. I think all those had a great one. The York Catholic volleyball was another one that kind of surprised us. I mean, in the league, they didn't...
no doubt.
They didn't impress us too much in the league, and then they come out and make a great run there to win a district title and make it a states. That was pretty cool to see. For football overall, it's probably not the greatest year, but there's still some bright spots. Seeing a team like Northeastern Bigelow make a run is pretty cool. Northern York Catholic. I think there were some disappointing seasons for a lot of teams. Field hockey was kind of disappointing. I think a lot of teams expected to go a little bit further.
I'll tell you right now, our field hockey teams, Dallas had a good year again. They lost in districts, but
Gettysburg was really good.
The Gettysburg was good, but what it really shows me is that they really have some catching up to do from a regional standpoint. Field hockey here still has some room for growth. I thought Gettysburg soccer would go a bit deeper. I thought that they would really challenge for a state title, and I just got the feeling, even reading Matt Alabone's story following their defeat, that was a very tough pill to swallow. I think internally they thought they would go deeper as well. And again, I thought volleyball, it's crazy to say that York is a volleyball community, but it's tough to argue with the results, and that's probably our most consistently solid sport across the board. So that's what we're call ourselves right now for the time being until someone can rise up. We'll see what happens this weekend, the state playoffs. It'll be interesting. Northeastern, we'll see if they represent against Susquehanna Township. Again, Northern York's in action, Biglerville's in action, York Catholic's in action.
Live stream?
No live stream, but you can still follow us, our live coverage, GameTimePA.com all day, every day for the latest news updates and analysis. Folks, thanks for checking us out as always. Game Day with Game Time PA.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
It's going to be another epic year in high school football, and Sports Radio 1350 is ready for kickoff. Tune in every Friday night this fall for the high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Plus, go to WOYK1350.com for a full breakdown of the teams and the players of the 2015 York Adams League. The high school football game of the week, presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch the action every Friday night on Sports Radio 1350, online at WOYK1350.com, or download the WOYK mobile app.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Welcome to WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight. Brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine, the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of the York Revolution.
The Hanover Nighthawks are in a rebuilding stage. They need to replace 9 seniors they lost to graduation last year. We talked to head coach Nathan Myers about the prior season for the Nighthawks and what this new season could entail for Hanover.
We had a very good season, went undefeated in league play. Had 9 seniors though, and those 9 seniors have left us and have moved on. So obviously one of our strengths last year was the play of our inside players, Dylan Krieger and Jacob Rhodes, but they're no longer with us, so that's a big hole for us to replace.
The Nighthawks football program also had to find a way to replace Dylan Krieger, who is a star wide receiver for them. The Nighthawks went on a tremendous regular season run this year, ending the regular season of a 9-1 record. Coach Nathan Myers hopes to have similar success, but knows it won't be easy.
We truly hope so. I think one of the benefits the football team has had is a large number of senior players, sort of similar to us last season, which is very helpful. For us this year, we're going to have to rely on our experienced guard play until we get everyone else sort of caught up with varsity experience.
Coach Myers named 2 guards in particular who he expects to have a big impact for the Nighthawks this year.
We have Kyle Kraut, quarterback on the football team. He'll be returning to us as a 4-year starter on the basketball team. Obviously, he has the most varsity experience currently in our program, so we're going to have to rely heavily on him. And also Will McQueen is a senior point guard, and he'll be a 2nd-year starter for us.
Catch a preview every day as we break down the teams and players of the 2015-2016 York Adams League on WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight, brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine. And make sure to check out every team preview on WOYK1350.com. Have you been injured? At WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, no appointment is needed. Learn more at wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics. First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.